And now I'd like to welcome the chairman of the Bluegrass Sports Commission. Here's a guy who went out and built his own successful sports marketing company, the founder of Bertram Marketing Group, Mr. David Bertram. David?
Good evening. My joke about the weather is not nearly as good. But I did wake up the other day and Bill Meck was talking about the polar vortex, and it was very fitting that this, once again, one of our marquee events is being affected by the weather. But thank you for being here. This is an awesome crowd. On behalf of our commission, which is made up of 26 volunteers, of very well-trained people, because we've all been trained mostly probably by Jim Host and a lot of other great folks, UK and Trancy and so forth in this community. Thank you for being here. Our mission is to positively impact economic development in this community and better the lives of our citizens. Simply, that's as simple as that. It is a fundraiser, so we encourage you to go look at the silent auction stuff and bid and enjoy your evening. So tonight we'll recognize several folks for their fantastic accomplishments and contributions to sports on and off the field. I'd like to thank them all for being here, near and far. Also, I'd like to thank Peter Baniak and Mark Story for their efforts from the Lexington Herald Leader on selecting the Kentucky Sports Figure of the Year. As I mentioned, the commission is a nonprofit, and so your donations are tax deductible. In 2018, through this organization's work, as you heard, we did over $40 million in economic influence to this community. I've had the pleasure of working with this group for over 10 years, and the things that Brian Miller and his staff, I'd like to think from the influence from a lot of you in the room, the things that are going on in this community are really special, particularly for a town of our size. We're going to show a video now of all the things that we did in 2018 or had a part of, and I think you will enjoy that and hopefully be pretty impressed at all the things that have happened.
2018 was a banner year for the Bluegrass Sports Commission that saw the organization bring nearly $40 million of economic impact into the central Kentucky area through new and existing sporting events. The year began with this very event, an exciting night while we honored some of the very best in the sports media and sports business industries. The night culminated with PGA Tour superstar and Louisville, Kentucky native Justin Thomas being announced as the 2017 Kentucky Sports Figure of the Year. Thomas's win set the tone for the year, as professional golf was a major focus in 2018, with the Sports Commission playing a significant role in the PGA Tour's return to Kentucky for an annual event for the first time in nearly 50 years. Although rain had a presence during the tournament, the Barbasol Championship was able to draw nearly 25,000 spectators to champions at Keene Trace and set the standard for a first-class event that will only get bigger and better in the future. In its 34th year, the Bluegrass State Games are still the signature event of the Bluegrass Sports Commission. The 2018 Bluegrass State Games saw nearly 15,000 of our state's finest amateur athletes travel to central Kentucky to compete for gold, silver, and bronze medals in over 40 sports, ranging from soccer and track and field to pickleball and bike polo. In August of 2018, the Bluegrass Sports Commission took over stewardship of one of Lexington's signature summer events, a Midsummer Night's Run. The event was a great evening of family fun with the fastest kid in town and 5K races, bringing nearly 3,000 runners out onto the streets of downtown Lexington. From two long-standing traditions to a first-year event that we expect to eventually join them. With a crowd of approximately 4,500 people, the Fayette County Fair was one of Lexington's biggest parties, thrown by the Bluegrass Sports Commission, the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission, and the Red Mile, to promote the final day of the Kentucky Sire Stakes, one of the richest days on the harness racing schedule. For the 9th year, the Bluegrass Sports Commission closed out its calendar by awarding the game MVP trophy in the most intense rivalry in college basketball. Following a brilliant performance, Tyler Hero added his name to the list of players that have impacted the battle for the Bluegrass, joining players such as Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Russ Smith, and Tyler Eulis. In 2019, the Bluegrass Sports Commission will continue to bring the best sporting events on any level to the Central Kentucky area as we work to fulfill our mission of driving economic development and improving the quality of life for the citizens of Central Kentucky. There are currently 4 new events on the 2019 calendar, including in April, when a group of former University of Kentucky basketball players will participate in a barnstorming tour that will take them across the state and into the towns that make up Big Blue Nation. In June, we will once again partner with the Red Mile, this time bringing a different type of horsepower to the historic racetrack as we host a leg of the Battle of the Bluegrass Tractor Pulling Series. July 18th through 21st, the PGA Tour will return to Champions at Keene Trace for the second year of the Barbasol Championship. This event continues to be one of only a few professional sporting events held in the Bluegrass. July 19th through the 21st, Lexington will serve as one of 8 regional sites of the basketball tournament, a $2 million winner-take-all single elimination tournament that will be televised on ESPN. The regional tournament is expected to draw approximately 8,000 spectators over 3 days and will feature a UK alumni team as well as teams from traditional rivals such as Louisville, Florida, and Arkansas. 2019 marks the 35th year of the Bluegrass State Games. This year, the event will return to its roots, as the State Games will primarily be held over 2 weekends on the fields of the University of Kentucky and Lexington Parks. 2019 will also feature the reintroduction of the opening ceremony to kick off the Bluegrass State Games. 2019 will also be the 35th running of a Midsummer Night's Run. On August 10th, thousands of runners and walkers will flood downtown Lexington for one last celebration before the end of the summer. September 15th, we'll be returning to the Red Mile for the second year of the Fayette County Fair. Live harness racing, food trucks, a beer garden, and live music will bring families out to experience the excitement at one of the most historic racetracks in the country. In late December, we'll once again close out our year by having the honor of presenting the Game MVP Award in the Kentucky-Louisville men's basketball game. 2019 will also be a year that the Sports Commission continues its work on bringing a youth sports park to Central Kentucky, as well as working with Scott County Schools to fundraise a new naming rights partner for its brand new state-of-the-art football stadium and basketball gymnasiums. The team will also be hard at work designing and fundraising for the 2020 Breeders' Cup Festival, one of the world's richest sporting events. The Bluegrass Sports Commission thanks all of you for your support in 2018, and we look forward to working together to impact Central Kentucky in 2019.
As you saw, last year was pretty impressive, I think, of all the things that this group has been involved in and the impact it's had on all of us in this room and our community. This dinner is a very special evening for us, and again, thanks everybody for being here and dealing with the weather. But the people that we were able to bring in and honor, they have done some amazing things on and off the field, supporting athletics and playing athletics. And none of this would be possible without Jim Host, who unfortunately can't be here. So his knee must really hurt. So please keep Jim and Pat in your thoughts and prayers. And of course, Tom Hammond. Tom, thank you for everything you do for our state and for the country and frankly for the world. And then lastly, I want to thank our sponsors again. I learned that from Jim Host. And if you haven't already checked out the silent auction, please do so. And please remember that this is a fundraiser for our organization, and everything we're doing does go back into our community to make everything better for all of us. Thank you and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, David. This is, of course, a night of champions. So we have Winstar Farm, which has produced so many champions, from the thrilling Kentucky Derby victory of Super Sabre to the Triple Crown winner, Justify. Sydney McLaughlin, NCAA track and field champion, and soon to set the world stage on fire, I promise you that. We also have UK athletics with us tonight, the Citrus Bowl champions. NCAA rifle champs, the national cheerleading champions, the NCAA basketball Hang on a second. Got a little ahead of myself there. But if the last 7 games are any indication, huh? Okay. And Keeneland, which will host the 2020 Breeders' Cup Championships, as well as the Lexington Legends, who won the 2018 South Atlantic League Championship, and Keene Trace, of course, which hosted the 2018 and soon the 2019 Barbasol Championship. A lot of champions in this room tonight. Our next presenter is a 2-time World Series champion, and he's presenting an award named for his father, Bobby Flynn, a man who is synonymous with going the extra mile, giving of his time, and dedicated to helping his fellow man. Please welcome to the stage his son, Mr. Doug Flynn.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to be here. Sorry Mr. Host isn't here, but he had, I guess, the courage to name an award for someone who in our community has been volunteering most of his life. And I used to think my dad just had all those jobs when I was growing up. And then my mom would say, no, that's not his job. He's just out there because he loves doing it. And tonight I'm very proud to say my mom and dad are here tonight. My dad hadn't been out in a while, and Dad, I love you. Yep. I go very few places where people don't say, how's Bobby doing? Well, Bobby's doing good. And so tonight, he wanted to be here for this award. You know, it's an honor when I look over here and see all these guys in the blue coats, because it reminds me a lot of Dad. It's not just 101 guys that are getting this award tonight. It's the fact that these gentlemen are volunteers, and if you go to a golf tournament in town, if you go anywhere where something good is going on and they're not getting paid, they'll be there. And that's always amazed me. But I agree with what Matthew Lawrence said. This town's the most giving town. I've been here my whole life, and I can't imagine any other town being as good at that. But to let you know a little bit about our winners tonight, here's a little video to introduce them.
The Committee of 101 becomes the 5th recipient of the Bobby Flynn Volunteer of the Year Award, joining its former president in the late Van Florence. The Committee of 101, a group of volunteers who usher Kentucky sporting events in their unmistakable blue coats, began in March of 1966 with a telegram to Adolph Rupp and the Kentucky basketball team, a telegram of support during an away game. After Rupp noticed the group's support, the Committee of 101 was established with a simple mission of supporting UK athletics in any way possible. The committee now has 325 members who pay dues but still work on a strictly volunteer basis, and a waiting list of those who still want to join. At UK games, members serve as greeters, program sellers, locker room attendants, security guards, as well as many other behind-the-scenes tasks. In addition to football and basketball games, the committee has worked baseball games, golf tournaments, track meets, basketball camps, the boys' Sweet 16, NCAA tournaments at Rupp and Memorial Coliseum, and several other miscellaneous events. They give back to the school via endowment funds and scholarships. In 2010, the group endowed a $50,000 academic scholarship to honor Van Florence, the club's president, for 30 years. In addition, they endowed the Bill Kitely Scholarship for basketball managers, a scholarship for the cheerleaders, as well as a donation to the dance team. They also purchased 14 baseball season tickets and 20 women's basketball season tickets each season, and during Florence's tenure, donated $100,000 to the Joe Kraft Center.
It's my honor tonight to give this award in recognition of my dad, Mr. Bobby Flynn, to Charlie Higginbotham and the Committee of 101. You want to say so?
Thank you. Mr. Bobby Flynn, I was happy to see you tonight. We've missed you. And part of what I'm going to say tonight has something to do with Bobby, that the first time I ever met him, he treated me like he knew me my whole life, and he's always been a friend of the Committee 101. But I have to read from a script, because if not, I'm also a minister. I might go on too long. For the first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Bluegrass Sports Commission for selecting the Committee 101 to receive the Bobby Flynn Volunteer of the Year Award. Brian explained to me when I talked to him the other day, I had 4 to 5 minutes tonight, and for those that didn't know it earlier, it's that I'm a minister, so I do tend to go on and on. But I will not pass the plate tonight. We are very honored as a group of the recipients tonight. This is a special award. As I said, it contains the title of Bobby Flynn. When I first met Bobby, he was always gracious to me, and he not only became a friend to me, but also I know he's a great friend of the Committee of 101. Now, not only are we following the footsteps of receiving an award from the Bluegrass Sports Awards, but as I said, our predecessor, my mentor, Mr. Van Florence, was graciously awarded the award several years ago. You know, sometimes, most everybody calls us the Blue Coats. I've been all over the state of Kentucky, and when I talk to people and mention to them about what I do, when I mention the Committee 101, they sort of cock their head and go, "What?" But when I say a blue coat, they say, "I know who you are." So I'm glad honored to wear this blue coat tonight. So what I'd like to do tonight, like I say, is, who would have thought that in March 1966, that when 101 people who have been sending Coach Adolph Rupp telegrams congratulating him on his wins would turn out to be over 300 working members, along with 25 non-active members today. And almost 52 years later, that's really a wonderful, amazing accomplishment. Our members travel across the state of Kentucky, from Paducah to Pikeville, Ashland, Louisville. They're all over the state. There's a big convergence of them tonight. I've got about 30 tonight out of the 300, and these are the guys that have worked everything that we asked them to do. And I'm glad we got them here. And they're all here because they love Kentucky sports. When what started out ushering at basketball games has turned into not only volunteering for University of Kentucky sporting events, but also assisting in the NCAA regionals, women's regionals, the boys' Sweet 16, and starting this year, we're going to help assist with the girls' Sweet 16 here at Rupp, in which I'm glad they're here. We've helped the last couple of years when they moved the boys' football championship here. We've helped UK fill in for spots where they were short for that, and it's always a great honor to be here. I'll sort of fill you in on a typical day for a Committee 101, because a lot of people don't really know. All they see us there watching the ball game most of the time, but I'll give you a typical day for one of our members. A normal day for the football fans begins with meeting our guys in the parking lots. This is for football. Next, we meet them at the gates and scan their tickets. As they come into the concourse, we're there handing out programs and trying to get them to buy the football program. As they continue around the concourse, we have members greeting fans to help them get going in the right direction to their seats, where we have ushers at each section to take care of them. As they leave, we stay almost until the bowl is empty. We continue until every fan is left. All of this for a glorious compensation of hoping the fan has had a good time. We charge a small fee to join our membership, but they get a lot back in return. And I will not let you know that there's not one of us that does not prize this blue coat that we wear. And also, as president, I also like to keep a good eye on our guys to make sure we are a professional group. Tonight we brought a few people with us at our table, and if you don't care, I know if you allow them, let the 101 stand. If you would stand, guys. You may notice that one of our members stands out a little bit. He is our newest honorary member to the Committee of 101, so he'll have his blue jacket the next meeting we have. Thank you, Kenny. The guys we have here tonight will range from 52 years in our club to just joining the club this year. But they are a bunch of great guys. And in closing, I want again to thank all at the Bluegrass Commission for electing our group, the Committee of 101 as its Volunteer of the Year. Thanks, guys.
To Charlie and the Committee of 101, congratulations again. And Doug, thank you for presenting that award. All right, now please welcome to the stage a man who really doesn't need an introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway. He's one of the founding fathers of this event who rose from a sports job at WLEX to become one of the leading lights of NBC Sports. He is, in fact, one of the great sports broadcasters of our time. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Hammond.
I'm not so sure about that, Kevin, but thank you very much, and thanks for being here tonight, and thanks to all of you for braving the polar vortex to be here. As you know, Jim, host, cannot be here. Had his left knee replaced, and I'm told he went home from Cardinal Hill yesterday. If he were here, I know he'd be saying to me, get on with it, go on. So I'm going to present his awards tonight, his two awards. And first is the Sports Business Award to Winstar Farm.
Will receive the 2019 Jim Host Sports Business Award. Owner Kenny Trout and Winstar Farm have a history of success inside its fences, most notably 2018 Triple Crown winner Justify. Winstar also owned Super Saver, winner of the 2010 Kentucky Derby, Drosselmeyer, winner of the 2010 Belmont Stakes, and Creator, winner of the 2016 Belmont Stakes. Winstar also stands several notable stallions, including Tisnow, Distorted Humor, and Pioneer of the Nile, sire of 2015 Triple Crown and Breeders' Cup winner American Pharoah. Winstar won the Eclipse Award for Outstanding Owner in 2010 and was a finalist for the Eclipse Award for Outstanding Breeder in 2008. Winstar Farm claimed the Eclipse Award for Outstanding Breeder in 2016 after leading all North American breeders with earnings of over $10 million. Horses bred by Winstar earned 15 graded stakes wins and 239 overall wins in 2016, placing Winstar first in those three categories as well.
Well, over near Versailles on historic Pisgah Pike is a real showplace. 2,400 acres, and what a modern thoroughbred farm should look like. It sits on land that was originally settled in the 1700s as Silver Pond Farm. Owned by Kenny Trout, Winstar Farm, a full-service thoroughbred operation, annually among the world's leading owners and breeders, and home to an impressive roster of stallions. And what a year Winstar and their partners had in 2018. In just 111 days, their 3-year-old colt Justify won his first race, then reeled off 5 more victories to become racing's 13th Triple Crown winner, and the first Triple Crown winner to retire undefeated. In the Kentucky Derby, he broke that dreaded curse of Apollo, becoming the first horse since Apollo in 1882 to win the Derby without having raced as a 2-year-old. It was the run of a lifetime, that string of 111 days. And last week, Justify was named Horse of the Year, as well as Champion 3-year-old Male. Accepting the award for Winstar is Elliott Walden, a third-generation Kentucky horseman who gave up a career as one of the top trainers in America to run Winstar as its president and CEO. Winner of the Jim Host Sports Business Award is Winstar Farm.
Thank you all, and want to thank Jim Host. Sorry he couldn't be here tonight, and the Bluegrass Sports Commission for this prestigious award. As you all were talking about the weather, I couldn't help but think about Justify and the sloppy racetrack that we had on Kentucky Derby Day as well. Kenny and Lisa are sorry they couldn't be here tonight, but wanted me to extend their gratitude for this award as well. And, you know, Kenny got into this business after becoming wealthy through Excel Communications and looking at different opportunities like the Denver Nuggets and the Dallas Mavericks. He was very close to buying the Denver Nuggets, but a trip in 1999 to Saratoga changed his mind. He saw in the paddock at Saratoga, he saw generations of the Phippses and the Farishes, where they had the grandfather and the father and the son, and he realized that maybe his 3-year-old daughter at the time wouldn't be very good in a locker room for the Denver Nuggets, but would be better off in the horse racing industry. So he poured what he was going to put into a sports team like that, and he turned his attention to Lexington and bought Winstar Farm with Bill Kasner. It started, as Tom said, with 400 acres, and now we're a little over 2,400. We joke all the time that Kenny doesn't want to own all the land in Woodford County, just what's next to him. And so we just keep growing and growing, and like any sport, you have to have a team of committed individuals that are more interested in the whole than they are in what they can do by themselves. And so I brought up our team that's here tonight. Amy Nave is our office manager, does a super job. Destin Heath is our trainer. His wife, Alyssa, is an assistant broodmare manager, along with Jimmy Tate. Diana Healy is our receptionist, and she is the face of Winstar if you walk into the office. Larry McGinnis has been with us from the start. He's our stallion manager and handles all those stallions. Jack Mullican is our CFO. He counts the money when it comes in and when it goes out. Jerry Davis is our maintenance manager and in charge of kind of operations, everything other than horse. And Natanya Neiman is our vet. She's been with us from the start as well. Donnie Preston is our yearling manager, been there right from the start. We're really proud of the fact that a lot of these people have been there right from the start. And it's 18 years counting, and we're looking forward to the next 18. And David Hanley is our general manager. I'm just grateful that 2 years ago he took a liking to a chestnut colt at the Keeneland sale, and his name was Justify. Thank you all very much.
Where's our guy? There he comes.
Next up, we have the winner of the Tom Hammond Kentucky Media Award, a familiar voice to everyone in Big Blue Nation.
This media award goes to Tom Leach. As a high school senior in Paris, Leach listed his ultimate career goal to become the next voice of the Wildcats. Nearly every broadcaster covets that seat in Rupp Arena, but the dream came true for Tom. Leach began his work on the UK radio network in 1989 as host of the post-game scoreboard and call-in shows. 8 years later, he was named the play-by-play voice for Kentucky football.
He'll gather it in at the 33. Sprints up across the 45, across the 50, heading to the far side at the 40. Look out! He's across the 20. He's across the 10. Touchdown, Kentucky! New life for the Wildcats!
And he added men's basketball responsibilities in 2001. Since then, he's been named Kentucky Sportscaster of the Year 5 times. Leach has been at the microphone for many memorable moments in UK sports. These include the 2012 National Championship for the Kentucky men's basketball team and the upset of then number 1 ranked LSU on the gridiron in 2007. He's worked 4 Final Fours and 9 bowl games while covering the Wildcats. Leach is also a 2-time winner of the Eclipse Award for excellence in coverage of thoroughbred racing, and he covers racing for Keeneland. Through his Tom Leach Productions company, he hosts a daily radio show on UK sports in the Leach Report. He's also an author, having penned Rich Tradition about Rich Brooks and his revival of the UK football program, and is a contributor to Keeneland.com, providing daily picks on the day's races.
Well, I grew up listening to Claude Sullivan and then Kaywood Ledford, never dreaming that one day I would be a sportscaster as well. But I'm sure just listening to them influenced me in a lot of ways, and later on it would be a treat to work with Kaywood before his retirement. Through the years, Kentucky fans have been so fortunate to have an extraordinary string of broadcasters serving as the voice of the Wildcats, and Tom Leach, a worthy successor to that group. Tom combines accuracy with energy and enthusiasm. He's obviously knowledgeable about football and basketball, and I might add about thoroughbred racing as well. And he's always up to date on the various storylines coming into a broadcast. He knows his audience is mostly UK fans, and he's happy to give them what they want. But that doesn't keep him from leveling with his audience when things aren't going well. No sugarcoating from Tom. I've known Tom since he embarked on this journey, and I'm so proud of him and what he's accomplished. Our Kentucky Media Award winner, Tom Leach.
First, thank you to the Bluegrass Sports Commission and to Tom. Proud to call Tom Hammond a friend. He is as gracious today as he was when a starstruck young man had him sign a program at a Trancey basketball game in the early 70s. The other autograph on that program was a guy named Adolph Rupp, who was at the game too. I want to thank my family, my wife, Robin, who became the lead news anchor at WLEX before opting to leave that world to focus on being a mom. Our son Connor's also here tonight. There's our daughter Caroline, who's in school at the University of Denver. Both are good people with kind hearts, and they benefited greatly from the choice that their mom made. I have never worked anything remotely close to normal hours in my life, and they've been very understanding of that. I regret missing some key moments along the way, like the day Connor hit the game-winning shot in his basketball game. And Caroline was due to be born a few days after Kentucky was scheduled to play its first New Year's Day bowl game on January 1st, 1999. Now, we had not yet discussed how I might manage both of those events when Robin's OBGYN announced that he was going to the game, and if she wanted him to deliver her baby, that she would need to induce labor. So Caroline was born 10 days ahead of schedule, and Robin was understanding enough to let me head to the Florida game the next week. And our moms get a big thank you for helping out as well at that time. Certainly salute all the very deserving honorees on tonight's program. It's been my pleasure to get to know Verne Lundquist through my job covering the Wildcats. Guys like Verne set the bar very high for those of us who followed in their footsteps, and that goes for Tom Hammond as well. I'm especially happy to see the Committee of 101 be recognized for their commitment to UK sports, because they epitomize the passion of the Big Blue Nation. And I'm always going to owe a debt of gratitude to the UK fans. Their love of the Wildcats and their expectation of quality performance makes this job the best of its kind in the nation. There's Sidney McLaughlin, who will probably be back here one day for winning gold medals, and Winstar Farms. It's so wonderful when the sport of racing has a Triple Crown winner with connections that are as fan-friendly as Winstar. I want to thank my two partners in my production company, one of whom is Jim Host, who hired me for the UK football play-by-play job in 1997 and basketball 4 years later, and J.C. Faulkner, a lifelong friend who couldn't be here tonight. Their support and counsel made it possible to get through some of the tough times that we all face now and then. Also, a couple of longtime partners are here with me, business partners, folks from Kentucky Bank and from Keeneland. I was certainly not born for this job. At Bourbon County Middle School, they did start a closed-circuit newscast, and I did the sports reports in the 8th grade, and I'm sure that played a key role in setting me on this path. There were many friends back then who were very encouraging, and many of them are still among my closest friends today. Nobody in my family ever worked in the media field, but I'm blessed that I came up as a sports fan here in Central Kentucky because I followed the Wildcats and the Cincinnati Reds. And that meant I listened to Kaywood Ledford and Ralph Hacker for more than a decade before Jim hired me to work on the pregame and postgame shows in 1989. Listening to them, as well as first Al Michaels and then Marty Brenneman on the Reds broadcast, was better training than I could have received in any classroom. I worked for Ralph Hacker for 16 years, and nobody had a greater influence on my professional life. I still do lineup boards for games in a fashion that Ralph taught me. I was a young broadcaster with some unpolished skills when I was hired at Ralph's station by Deborah Moore to be a news reporter in 1984. Ralph and the team there helped polish the skills that I had, and Jim continued that process when he hired me on the UK network. Both Ralph and Jim, along with Kaywood, always stressed the importance of preparation, so I try to honor that advice with how I prepare for each game that I do. Now, I'm also indebted to the guy who gave me my first job in radio, Bill Brown at WBGR in Paris. He has passed now, but my first two program directors for whom I worked, Doug Vaughn and John Darrell Marsh, are still around, and they all made sure I did things the right way. It's easy to fix mistakes in this digital era, but in 1977, if I recorded a 5-minute newscast on tape and messed up a word 4 minutes and 50 seconds in, I knew to erase the card and do it again. I want to thank all the members of our UK network broadcast team over the years. My only broadcast partner in basketball has been Mike Pratt, a consummate pro who helps make me sound better. Same goes for Jeff Van Note and now Jeff Pocoro in football, the two analysts with whom I have worked, and along with Dick Gabriel on the sidelines. My first analyst on high school football games in Paris also had the responsibility of letting me know if it was a touchdown or a stop on sweeps around the right side because the window in the press box didn't go all the way. So he'd stand over at the side and go, or, boom. Now, if you saw the Missouri game this year, you know Jeff Pocoro doesn't need a signal. The funny moments like that you share are the things that really make this job as much fun as the games themselves. Mike, Jeff, and Gabe are here tonight, as is Jim Barnhart, who's our producer and engineer for the basketball games. And I think Jim can kind of serve as a representative for all the engineers and producers and stat guys and spotters with whom I've worked. I won't go through all of the names. It's a long list, but I do want to give special recognition to my first producer, Mike Dodson, who was very helpful as I settled into this job. There is nothing more fun, more energizing, more fulfilling professionally than being part of a team that is committed to trying to do the job the best you possibly can. And it's been that way from the days of Claude Sullivan and Kaywood Ledford, as Tom mentioned. A thank you to JMI Sports, first for keeping me employed, and secondly for their support and encouragement, all of the sales staff that keeps the engine humming so smoothly. I want to thank all of the UK coaches and players with whom I've worked. Kaywood always told me you sound better when they win, and he was so right. Big thank you to the members of the UK administration through the years, and in particular the Sports Information Department. There is so much more information at my disposal now than there was for my predecessors. And finally, my mom and dad, Louise and Alvin Leach. Now, as I've said, there was not anybody in our family that was in the media business, but because of them, I never had any sense of what a narrow target I was trying to hit professionally or how much of a long shot I should be considered. From my dad, I learned to always try and be the best at anything I did, in sports or in the classroom. And my mom, well, if I had said I wanted to be president, she would have picked up the phone and started calling whoever she knew that might know one of Kentucky's senators that might help give me a leg up. The idea of being a long shot would have never entered their minds. My dad didn't live long enough to see the UK job come through for me, but my mom did, and the last game she heard me do before she passed was the first national championship game I had a chance to call for the Wildcats. In closing, I've always thought the concept of a self-made man or self-made woman is a misnomer. We all need a little luck, and we all need to get by with a little help from our friends and our family, and I have been very blessed. Thank you very much.
Next up, our Jim Host Youth Sports Award. And the winner is UK's latest one and done. Not on the court, on the track.
Sydney McLaughlin, one of the most talented athletes ever at the University of Kentucky, will receive the Jim Host Youth Sports Award. After winning the national championship in the 400-meter hurdles in June at the NCAA Outdoor Championships in Eugene, Oregon, the Wildcat freshman phenom announced she would turn pro, thus ending her brief but illustrious collegiate career. Despite rainy and cool conditions, McLaughlin won the women's 400-meter hurdles by more than a second in 53.96, which ranks number 8 on the NCAA all-time performers list and number 2 in NCAA championships history. She recorded her personal best, 52.75, in the 400-meter hurdles at the 2018 SEC Outdoor Championships in May of that year, which reset her own junior world record and came incredibly close to the overall world record of 52.34. McLaughlin set a world junior record in the 300 meters with a time of 36.12 in her UK debut at the Hoosier Open. McLaughlin's success prior to UK also set records. At 17, she became the youngest U.S. track and field Olympian in 44 years and finished 5th in her semifinal heat to the 400-meter hurdles at the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio. She appeared on the cover of Sports Illustrated and was twice named the Gatorade Track Athlete of the Year in 2016 and 2017. In October 2018, McLaughlin turned professional and signed with the New Balance team.
So Sydney is here. Her flight got in despite the snow and the cold weather. Now 19 years old and leaves behind a legendary career as a junior performer. As you saw, she was twice named the National Girls Athlete of the Year and on Sports Illustrated's cover. And it was quite a coup when she came to UK's up-and-coming track and field program from her home in New Brunswick, New Jersey. As you heard on the tape, she was an Olympian at age 17, the youngest U.S. track Olympian in 4 decades. And it was my pleasure to call Sydney's races at the U.S. Championships, at the U.S. Olympic Trials, and at the Olympics. I'm telling you, here's someone that you can follow as we head to the Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo next year. Oh, and how's she doing now? Well, last Saturday she made her pro debut in the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix in Boston, running the 500 meters for the first time. She won by nearly 3 seconds in 109.46, the fastest time in the world this year. Our youth sports winner, Sydney McLaughlin.
Hello, everybody. I don't have a speech made up, but I'm gonna wing it. Okay. It's an honor just to be here. I want to thank the Bluegrass Sports Commission just for this honor. It's amazing just being able to do one and done, not on the basketball team. You know, a lot of times I'm like, oh yeah, I went to Kentucky. They're like, oh, do you play basketball? I'm like, no. You look like a basketball player. How's the team doing? I'm like, yeah, I run track. Thank you. Yeah, they all go to the games, but it's been amazing just to be a part of the team this year. We've been able to do some amazing things and just be able to bring recognition to the track side of things and, take some of the thunder away from basketball. Sorry, guys. But it's been amazing, 1 year is not a lot of time to do some of the things that we were able to do, but I think just being able to come in and kind of change the culture of things and get people to kind of recognize, that we are here and do pretty amazing things as well has been such an honor. So I'm really thankful for Kentucky Track and my family. My mother's here. It was very funny. I walked in and the first thing this couple said to me is, "Where's your father?" Because I guess they met him at a football game. They're like, "Oh, we were hoping he'd be here." I'm like, okay, well, he's not here. I'm here. Thank you. But it's just great to be a part of Kentucky. It's definitely a family everywhere I go. So go Big Blue Nation. And thank you very much.
Now our final award, the National Sports Media Award winner, For over 50 years, our winner has been a part of many of the world's top sporting events.
Well, here it comes. Oh my goodness.
Verne Lundquist will receive the Tom Hammond Sports Media Award, which is a national award presented to a broadcaster who has achieved outstanding accomplishments during his career. Nationally, Lundquist worked for ABC Sports from 1974 to 1981, CBS from 1982 to 1995, and TNT from 1995 to 1997, before returning to CBS in 1998. In his return to CBS, Lundquist served as the longtime play-by-play lead announcer for CBS Sports coverage of SEC football. In March 2018, Lundquist announced he would not work the 2018 NCAA men's basketball tournament as he was still recovering from back surgery that he had had in November 2017 and would retire from calling college basketball. Despite his retirement from calling college football and basketball, Lundquist remains active as an announcer, calling the Masters and the PGA Championship for CBS Sports this year. Lundquist has had more than his share of famous calls, but the most memorable for Kentuckians is likely the 1992 Kentucky Duke NCAA tournament game and his call of the shot. From 1977 to 1983, the National Sportscasters and Sports Writers Association named Lundquist as Texas Sportscaster of the Year for his accomplishments from his time in Dallas. The organization later inducted him into its Hall of Fame in 2007. Lundquist is on the board of directors of the Summer Music Festival, Strings Music Festival in Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
And I think Verne brought the weather from Steamboat in with him. Thank you very much. It has been a Hall of Fame career marked by great versatility, accuracy, classic understatement. And as Mark Story noted in the Herald Leader a few weeks ago, Verne has been the voice of two iconic UK sports moments, the football upset of top-ranked LSU, and of course, the shot by Christian Laettner. Verne and I worked for different networks, did basically the same job, play-by-play, so we never really worked together. But we had some of the same broadcast partners. Pat Hayden, Bill Raftery, and Scott Hamilton come to mind. And all of them loved Verne, and I always admired him. He was a pro, a broadcaster's broadcaster. I mentioned Kaywood Ledford earlier, and he had a quality that was difficult to define, but I term it dignity. A quality you might not usually associate with broadcasting, but Verne has that same dignity. And you know, unlike a lot of today's broadcasters, that it isn't about him, it's about the event. Verne also has an engaging manner that says to the viewer, come on in and have a seat and let's watch this game together. It's my pleasure to present this year's National Media Award winner, Verne Lundquist.
Those of you who are old enough, I looked a little like Chester from Gunsmoke. That dates me, I know. I've got a little issue with a calf on my right leg, so here I go, gimpy. I've known Tom, we decided a while ago. I think I met him at the SEC Basketball Championship in Atlanta. And I just want to say a couple of things about Tom Hammond. I think because of his background, both educational and cultural, and his years at NBC involving horse racing, he was the best host of the Triple Crown I think I ever saw. I also had a little envy in my heart for Tom. In 1992, I did my first Winter Olympics in Albertville, France. Tom began the Olympics at NBC, by running track, by announcing track and field. Now, I've done a lot of that, and I'll tell you what, it's a very challenging, very difficult job when you're doing it live. I always thought that would be perfect. Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics. Mr. Hammond has done it for 2 decades, almost 3. I think my affection for Lexington and the state of Kentucky probably began in 1967. I had just moved to Dallas and was working at the ABC affiliate, and Cliff Hagan brought his hook shot to the Dallas Chaparrals. He was a player coach. He scored 40 points in his first game, and I covered the Chaparrals for all 3 years that Cliff was there, traveled with him, knew about his Kentucky background, and earned a great deal of admiration and respect for him. I was there for the 2007 upset of LSU, and I can vividly remember walking into Commonwealth Stadium and looking across at the names that were spread from left to right. And I smiled because I looked at the name of a dear friend, Ermel Allen. What a life he lived, what a career he had. Ermel, when he was at Kentucky, played for Paul Bryant and Adolph Rupp. He also was the 2-time state golf amateur champion here. And when I met him, he was with the Dallas Cowboys. He had become Tom Landry's backfield coach, and then he became director of research and development. Now, the statute of limitations has passed, so I can mention that Ermel and I were not above having an adult beverage on Saturday night before the game. Several at times. In 1998, my wife Nancy and I were on a cruise ship in Alaska, and we were introduced to Louis Nunn, the late governor of this state. We became great friends during the 10-day cruise, at the end of which he said, "I would like for you and Nancy to be my guests for the Kentucky Derby in May of 1999. Well, we were excited as could be. We flew into Louisville. Louis picked us up, took us to his home in Horse Cave, Kentucky, where we enjoyed several adult beverages. And then we were coming up to Louisville for the Derby. He wanted to go through the back roads and show us Abraham Lincoln's birthplace, a couple of other iconic spots in Kentucky. We stopped for an ice cream. And as we were going back to the car, we had paid the bill, and all of a sudden Louis said, we're about an hour out of Louisville, ladies. So if either of you is so inclined and feels the need, now would be a great time to step aside. I used that going to commercial at least once every time we did a football game in the SEC. And I thought of Louis Nunn and his legacy here. He's the greatest storyteller I think I ever heard. Tom mentioned Duke, Kentucky, and I heard a couple of pssts. I loved doing basketball games at Rupp Arena. I just loved them. And I don't know how many I did, but we would sit there at midcourt, usually Billy Packer, Bill Raftery, and me. I'd look to my right, there were Tom Leach and Mike Pratt. I would turn around to my left, and about 10 rows up would be Louis Nunn before he passed. And then about 3 rows back, Joe B. Hall. And we became friends, and I thought, how good is this? Now, every time from 1992 on, I went into Rupp Arena, I saw at least a dozen people wearing T-shirts that said, "I still hate Leitner." You were one of them. I won't dwell on the game, but I would like to share an anecdote with you. I worked with Lenny Elmore and Leslie Visser, and Kaywood Ledford had announced that whenever Kentucky lost in the tournament, that would be his final game. Leslie Visser was about 20 feet away from him, getting ready to pay him a tribute, but the game became so compelling we never got that story on the air. Now, Leitner hits the shot. Duke wins by 1. Sean Wood still made one of the most amazing shots I've ever seen to give Kentucky the lead. But I looked out at the pandemonium on the floor, and I saw Mike get up, and instead of going over here to Bob Davis, the Duke basketball, Bob Harris, the Duke basketball announcer, he made a beeline for K. Wood. And he went on the air live with K. Wood to thank him for his contributions to the sport that we all love. I heard Kevin mention we got to be aware of time, and I want to be. I've got a million memories of my 50-some years in this craft, but I will share with you one of them. This would have been the late 70s, and I was assigned to do a Brigham Young at Utah State football game. Now, this was mid-October. BYU was a really dynamite team. They were 5-0. Utah State was 4-1. We went to Logan, Utah in the Cache Valley, and we were blessed with a cobalt blue sky in mid-October. The stands were pulsating with emotion in anticipation of what we were going to see. What we saw was BYU roll over Utah State. 28-0 at the end of the first half, 48-3 at halftime. By now, the stands are emptying. And I looked up the score just to make sure my memory was correct. It wound up 66-3. And late in the fourth quarter, everybody who had any sense had gone home. But our director, Joe Assetti, had a cameraman focus on a little old lady sitting in the north end zone all by herself. And it was obvious that she had a grandson, equally obvious that he must have been a player for Utah State. Now imagine she had her heavy coat on, she had a shawl around her shoulders, a scarf on her head. They zoomed in on her and you could see the well-earned lines in her face. And I'm desperately trying to think of something appropriate to say at this moment. And Joe Assetti came into my ear and he said, "She was a freshman when this game started." I'm so honored to be back in Lexington. Thank you all very much.
Boy, you'd be a fool to try to follow that. Verne, Tom, gosh, you guys were just the best. And the thing I always remember about listening to either one of these guys, they never intruded on the game, ever. And the games were so much better for it. Thank you both. All right, now, let's welcome to the stage to announce the winner of the 2019 Kentucky Sports Figure of the Year Award, the editor and general manager of the Lexington Herald-Leader, Mr. Peter Braniak.
Thank you to the Bluegrass Sports Commission for having us back again to announce the Kentucky Sports Figure of the Year live and simultaneously on Kentucky.com with complete results in tomorrow's Herald-Leader. The Lexington Herald-Leader has given this award since 1981, based on votes by media members from throughout the state. This year, a record 176 Kentucky media members representing print, television, radio, and the web cast ballots for Sports Figure of the Year. As always, I would like to say a special thank you to Herald-Leader columnist Mark Story, who makes the Sports Figure of the Year voting and award happen. Mark prepares the ballot coordinates the votes, tallies the votes, and writes all the stories you'll read about the award. He also takes great pains to make sure this is truly a statewide award. Thank you again, Mark. Mark's over there. The list of finalists for 2018 is an impressive one, and many members of the media commented on how difficult it was to choose a winner this year, or even narrow things down to 10 finalists. The list carries on a tradition of excellence in sport and in life from previous award winners. You've read about the 10 incredible finalists over the last couple of weeks. Let's recognize those 10 finalists one more time in this video.
Donovan Mitchell finished as the runner-up for the NBA Rookie of the Year in 2018. Mitchell averaged 20.5 points, 3.7 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game, while leading the Utah Jazz to the NBA playoffs, where they eventually fell to the Houston Rockets. Mitchell averaged 24.4 points per game during the Jazz 11-game playoff run and was named to the first-team NBA All-Rookie squad. Justify became just the 13th horse in thoroughbred history to claim the Triple Crown after the 3-year-old had convincing victories in the Kentucky Derby, Preakness, and Belmont. Foaled at Glenwood Farm in Woodford County, Justify was the first horse since Apollo in 1882 to win the Kentucky Derby without racing as a 2-year-old. Justify won all 6 career starts before retiring and became the only Triple Crown winner to retire unbeaten. Former Michigan State gymnast Rachel Den Hollander won the 2018 Sports Illustrated Inspiration of the Year Award after being the first of what would become 160 women to publicly accuse Dr. Larry Nassar of sexual abuse. In January 2018, Nassar, the longtime team doctor for USA Gymnastics, was convicted and sentenced to 40 to 175 years in prison. Den Hollander, who now works as a lawyer in Louisville, was named a Time 100 honoree and a 2018 Glamour Woman of the Year. Asia Durr had a standout season during her junior campaign for Louisville's women's basketball team. The 5'10 guard averaged 18.7 points and 3.1 rebounds per game and shot 41.5% from behind the arc for the Cardinals. Durr was named the ACC Player of the Year by the media and coaches while leading her team to the ACC regular season and tournament titles and an NCAA Final Four berth. She was named first-team All-America and earned Most Outstanding Player honors at the Lexington Regional. Kentucky head football coach Mark Stoops led the Wildcats to a 10-3 record in 2018. This was the first 10-win season and first winning Southeastern Conference record for the Cats since 1977. UK topped Florida for the first time since 1986, snapping the Gators' 31-game winning streak. Kentucky earned its first New Year's Day bowl game victory since 1952 with a win over Penn State, as Stoops was named the SEC Coach of the Year by both the AP and the league coaches. Rondale Moore, the ex-Trinity wide receiver, led the nation in receptions with 114 for 1,258 yards and 12 touchdowns last season for the Purdue Boilermakers. Moore was named to the AP First Team All-America as an all-purpose player. He also received ESPN First Team All-America honors, as well as winning the Paul Hornung and Big Ten Freshman of the Year awards. Moore was also named First Team Freshman All-America by the Football Writers Association of America. Walter Buehler made a name for himself in the Los Angeles Dodgers rotation, compiling an 8-5 record with a 2.62 earned run average and 151 strikeouts during his rookie season. The Henry Clay star threw 6 innings of a combined no-hitter against the Padres and threw 6 2/3 innings of one-hit baseball as the Dodgers beat the Rockies in a one-game playoff for the NL West crown. In Game 3 of the World Series, Buehler threw 7 scoreless innings of two-hit baseball against the Red Sox. Benny Snell helped lead Kentucky football to a 10-3 record, earning Most Valuable Player honors in the Wildcats Citrus Bowl victory on New Year's Day. The junior running back set a new school record finishing his career with 3,873 rushing yards. Snell ran for 1,449 yards and 16 touchdowns on the year, joining Herschel Walker as the only players in SEC history to exceed 1,000 yards rushing and 10 TDs in each of their first 3 college seasons. Sidney McLaughlin, one of the most talented athletes ever at the University of Kentucky, won a national championship in the 400-meter hurdles at the NCAA Outdoor Championships. She recorded a collegiate record of 52.75 in the 400-meter hurdles at the 2018 SEC Outdoor Championships in May, which reset her own junior world record and came incredibly close to the world record of 52.34. In October 2018, the Wildcats freshman phenom announced she would turn pro, thus ending her illustrious collegiate career. Josh Allen helped lead Kentucky football to a 10-3 record and a Citrus Bowl championship, while setting school records for career sacks, season sacks, and tying the mark for forced fumbles. Allen led Kentucky in tackles and was tops in the SEC in sacks, tackles for loss, and forced fumbles. He was named the SEC Defensive Player of the Year and was a consensus first-team All-American. Allen swept the postseason awards tour, winning the Bronco Nagurski Trophy, the Chuck Bednarik Award, the Lott Impact Trophy, and the Jack Lambert Award.
Let's give all the incredible finalists one more round of applause. This year's winner comes from a team that accomplished something it hadn't done in more than 4 decades. A 10-win season, an exciting New Year's Bowl victory, a season of shattered records and lasting memories. Amazingly, 3 of the top 4 finishers in this year's voting all represented that same team. In fact, 2 UK football teammates actually finished 1-2 in the voting, the first time that's ever happened. So who's it going to be? This year's Kentucky Sports Figure of the Year is Josh Allen. Josh Allen couldn't be with us tonight, but we do have a video message from him.
Hey everyone, thank you for this honor of Sports Figure of the Year. I just want to say thank you to the Herald Leader, the guys who voted for me. I want to say thank you to the Big Blue Nation out there who supported me, myself, my teammates, and the coaches throughout this whole season. I'm sorry I can't be there due to training in Florida for the NFL Combine. But on behalf, I want to thank my coaches, I want to thank my teammates, and also I want to thank you, Big Blue Nation. Thank you for supporting me, thanks for being there every step of the way. See you soon.
It looked just a little bit warmer there. Here to accept the award on his behalf is Mark Hill, Executive Associate Athletic Director at the University of Kentucky.
On behalf of Josh and Mitch Barnhart, Mark Stoops, and the entire UK Athletics Department, we're grateful for the support of everybody in Lexington, the Big Blue Nation. It's been obviously a special year for someone myself who's been with and around this program for 20 years. It was obviously a wonderful experience, but Josh is a guy that's done it the right way, and I know he would be very, very, very grateful for this award. He's due back in town this weekend, coincidentally when the weather will be warmer, but he's going to be in town doing a little training with our coaches this weekend. But thank you very much on behalf of Josh. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Josh is down there thinking, not the Bears, not 50 below, no. Before I say goodnight, I just want to thank all of you for having me as your MC this evening. It's been a great pleasure to be part of a great evening, again, with just a room full of champions and so many of the people that make this city and the Commonwealth such a great place to live. On behalf of all of us at LEX 18, again, thank you. I have a sheet of paper in front of me that says this event is supposed to end at 8:30. So Brian Miller, as you give your closing remarks, you have 60 seconds, sir. Thank you all very much and good night.
Well, I think Jim Host would be proud of tonight, finishing on time and having a great time celebrating with everybody. And how about one more round of applause for all of our award winners? Verne, we were on a schedule, but I would love to hear all those other stories you were going to share with us tonight, too. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you on behalf of the Bluegrass Sports Commission. It is a pleasure to serve you in this community. We're going to put a 5-minute clock on our silent auction. Thank you for bidding, and thank you for coming.